world full of too many football podcasts comes another football podcast. One man's quest to find the answers.
Okay, boys, let's go to work.
Now, live from Pine Grove Studio B, it's Let Me Be Frank with T. Frank.
Something's not right here. What in the world is going on? So, a little bit of change this weekend, so just give me a second to figure out what's bothering me. Hair? I didn't really do it well, but it's a new cut. Wife cut it this weekend. So, went summer cut everywhere. Beard's gone, scruff's back. But even that fits. No, that's not it. Bunny's fine. Not the bunny. Everything else is the same. Did get rid of the poster, but no, that's not it. Thinking a lot about fits this weekend, and I think that's what it is. It's something about something doesn't fit. Chest hair's fine. That's always been that way. There's nothing different there. But the reason I was thinking about fits in the NFL is because there's a couple of guys that were drafted into the NFL from Penn State, and they had to find the right fit at the next level, and I want to talk about that today of did they find the right fit. You've got a couple of guys that they have to find the right situation. Now, we're mostly going to focus on the top three guys for Penn State in Micah Parsons, Odafe Oweh, and Pat Friarmuth. And actually, most of them are fits. So that's not what... Okay, so here's the problem is... wasn't really any laundry this morning because the draft this weekend, everything got kind of thrown out, so I didn't really get any clothes done. So I just kind of threw this on. Turns out it's my wife's, and like if it looks good on her, it pulls a little through here, don't you think? Like right through here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go find a shirt that fits better, and then we're going to talk about Penn State football. Okay, hold on. Oh, look at the time. Now, that's just way better, right? Like, fit is really important. And before we get into the top three guys, I do want to quickly address the 7th-round picks that went back-to-back-to-back on day 3 from Penn State. And we're going to start with Michael Menet, and I think it's an interesting fit for him because it's an interesting, unique blocking scheme. It super de-emphasizes run blocking and creates more run game through space for the Arizona Cardinals, who are running a spread offense that quasi-air raid in the NFL. So he's just going to have to be good in space, which at times he's good and times he's not. Shaka Toney, he is going to be inserted as a designated pass rusher on one of the most deep and talented front sevens in the NFL. So he's either going to be getting one-on-one blocks and flourishing, or he's going to get lost in the shuffle of competition for guys that are good at rushing the passer. And finally, of Will Fries, who I think found the best fit of those three, going to the Indianapolis Colts. Here's why. They run a lot of man blocking and a lot of inside zone, which is what he came from at Penn State. That's a lot of what James Franklin and the offense has done during his time here. And he, in that aspect, I think he translates well. My question is, he's a 7th-round pick, so he's not going to be inserted in the starting lineup anytime soon unless he wins a position. But they've got a huge question at left tackle. Now, they can solve it in a number of ways, but if I were to say the worst-case scenario is they move Braden Smith, their right tackle, to left tackle, and then you say, well, Will Fries played right tackle, that's going to be a bad situation. If he moves into the inside, trains at guard for the future, I think that's a great spot for him. But with all these guys, either they are a fit or they don't make the team. That's the problem of being a 7th-round pick. Now let's move on to a guy who, if he is a fit, is going to be a superstar, and if he isn't, he's going to be on the field for 4 years, and he may struggle because he's got such a unique skill set, and that's Micah Parsons. Now, the good news is the Dallas Cowboys do not see him as a linebacker only, according to owner Jerry Jones.
I wanted a player there that really impacted strategy, that had a way for us to load it up. And so he gives us that kind of upside.
I think clearly when you watch him play, he's a multi-positional player. I mean, he obviously can play on the ball as a linebacker. He has natural pass rush skills. I mean, that's something, we're talking about really about the last 10 days.
Talking about different roles for players. And I think hopefully the next time that I visit with everybody, I'll have a better sense of where we're at and what we can do based on my time on the field with them. But until then, we'll still be working it out, because my job is to make sure I can put the guys in the best spots of the things that make them all unique. And so I look forward to doing that.
In fact, the really interesting thing is that former head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, Dan Quinn, sees his defense in a new light now, talking about how he's done a lot of self-scouting over his year away from football, and he's looking to change things up. One of the biggest things he talked about is having personnel packages. He talked about it a lot.
As far as in the base packages go, it'll look more like a 3-4 look. The nickel packages, which, teams play. This is the role I see for that person. I'm really looking forward to seeing the different packages and how we'll feature the guys and assess everything. You want to make sure, from an entire package that makes you want to have, okay, here's some packages, here's how we're going to use the guys. Versatile enough defensively to have different packages.
So again, that's great. From Parsons' perspective, he can be used in a bunch of different ways all over the field, putting him in situations to succeed, whether it's an early down run stuffer, a guy that is a spy on third down, a blitzer, a pure edge rusher. He can do a lot of these things. There was some talk about him playing in man coverage, and that makes me a little uncomfortable, seeing as we've never seen him do it. But with the number of linebackers they have, he will, again, not be asked to cover the best tight end on the opposing team. He will have a man coverage assignment. Maybe it is spying the quarterback. Maybe it's the running back. I think that that's a good position for him to be in. Now, the curious part is just the number of linebackers that the Cowboys have on their roster right now. From incumbent starter Jalen Smith,
linebacker.
Leighton Vander Esch,
linebacker.
New draftees Micah Parsons,
linebacker.
North Dakota State via LSU's Jabril Cox,
linebacker.
And then there's former safety Keanu Neal, who used to play for Dan Quinn and Atlanta. He is a
linebacker.
So who else is playing linebacker? Okay, so let's try something here. Zeke Elliott?
Linebacker.
Trevon Diggs?
Linebacker.
Michael Gallup?
He will be a linebacker.
Okay, so that's too many linebackers. But, okay, so there is some clarity as of today, as of this week. The Cowboys are not picking up the fifth-year option on Leighton Vander Esch. So you can see that some guys may not be in the long-term future of the team, especially seeing as they've given a lot of money to offensive players. They need to find guys that are young and talented on rookie deals, which they did during the draft. So maybe there's some clarity going forward. But right now, you've got so many sub-packages.
Okay, here's some packages.
That you're going to have guys that are seeing the field for like 20 snaps a game. I think Micah Parsons will be a larger role in that, especially as he gets more comfortable in the defense. So this is a really good, either way you slice it, however they use him, it sounds like they have a better plan than he's our linebacker, we're going to stick him here, he's going to play this position, and we're going to just roll with it. They have a plan of how to use his unique skills, and that is going to make him as successful as his talent will. So we're going to skip ahead to second-round pick Pat Friarmuth because he's another guy that I thought was in danger of going into a bad situation if the wrong team took him. Because during the pre-draft process, during his pro day, Friarmuth said that teams were thinking of using him in a very specific way.
Yeah, the consensus is that I'm going to be that move tight end. Most of the teams that are talking to me want me at their F tight end, move around the ball, but they feel very comfortable in 11 personnel and obviously 12 still putting me at the Y. So, I think that shows that, they think I'm versatile, but, mainly they see me at that F. They kind of told me they wanted me to drop a little weight. So I weighed in at, 251 today, 252. So that's probably where I'm going to probably play at my rookie season, depending on where I go.
Luckily for Friarmuth, he went to the Pittsburgh Steelers in the second round, and tight end coach Alfredo Roberts says that they don't plan on doing that with him. and gave a pretty good assessment of basically what we said here of his strengths and weaknesses.
He's going to be kind of a throwback tight end because he can play the position. He can do some multiple things. He can flex him out. And his positional flexibility is going to give us a chance to do a lot of different things. And he can do some of the heavy lifting. When we talk about getting in line and doing some things, he can also work in from the backfield because he can bend well and moves well in space. We can flex him out if we need be. If we're in our big packages, he can do a number of different things. As he grow, he'll be stronger and he'll be more efficient. Some of the things we're going to ask him to do, he's going to work at. I think he has some natural knee bend and some pad level things that he does easily now. And you just kind of accentuate those things that he does well and things that he needs to come on. We'll find a way to get those things better. What I think his ability to get downfield is better than average. I think he's shown that on some of his college tape or in his early years. The things that we're going to ask him to do, he'll have an opportunity to get vertical. He'll have opportunity to run an intermediate route tree. But he really catches the ball with ease, and he does some things nice after the catch. I think he has a lot of potential and upside.
So Roberts himself, I think, is an interesting piece of this puzzle because he's worked with a lot of talented tight ends over the years, from Mercedes Lewis, who was a former first-round pick with the Jacksonville Jaguars and has had a long NFL career, all the way up to Kellen Winslow with both the Browns and with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where he had 2,000-yard seasons in 3 years under Roberts, all the way to a situation that I think is going to be pretty indicative of what he'll do in Pittsburgh, where Roberts had both Kobe Fleener and Dwayne Allen during their successful years at tight end.
Having some experience in Indianapolis with Kobe Fleener and Dwayne Allen, I think it's kind of fits like that for me, with having guys and being able to take advantage of defense, because you can give them a chance that we can run the football with those guys, and then you can spread them out in space and throw the football with those guys. And then you add Ben Roethlisberger with his accuracy and the things he's done in this league. It's going to be a fun bill for Coach Canada to put some things together.
So the Steelers are going to ask him to be a strong, athletic tight end, and most likely, just based on Eric Ebron being a terrible blocker, he'll be the inline tight end, the Y position, and he'll be able to operate not only as a blocker, but as a hybrid of the position that you have to use your secondary coverage player on Pat Friarmuth, because probably your flex tight end or your more athletic slot cover player is going to go against Ebron. That gives great matchups to Pat Friarmuth. Now he's working on linebackers, maybe some box safeties. This is going to give him the opportunity to succeed. And with the way that offense is set up in general, between the number of receiving threats that they have, adding Najee Harris, there is going to be other threats on the roster in general. And this is the situation we talked about that he needed going into the NFL to be productive. He's not going to lead your passing attack, but he's going to be a huge problem for the defense as long as everything else is working. Especially, to me, what Pat Friarmuth said he did very early on and consistently in his career against zone coverage.
Kind of went in there, and my role was to block in the beginning of the season, and obviously they allowed me to make plays in the red zone, in zone coverage and stuff. And then in my sophomore year, went out there and was the man answer. And I think this past year, my junior year, I put it all together. I've shown that I can block with the best of the DNs and pass pro and go out there and make plays versus man and in zone. So I just kind of I try to piece it together my whole career.
Just don't ask me about the quarterback throwing him the football. Let's not get into the fact that he's a 40-year-old quarterback who's coming off a major injury in a down season and is going to be old, and they don't really have great protection for him, even though they drafted a lineman in the third round. I don't think this is a great idea for the offense in general, and we're just going to move on from that, because I've wasted a lot of brain cells on figuring out what the Steelers think's going to happen with Ben. Anyway, we're going to go to their division rival and talk about a guy that I think is in a more straightforward position, and that is Penn State edge rusher, the artist formerly known as Jason Oweh.
He's going to get to the quarterback. Not just that. He's going to run screens down. He's going to chase from the backside. He's going to set the edge at the point of attack. He's going to be an all-around football player.
By the way, as somebody whose name is very confusing for people, I totally get it, and I respect the hell out of the fact that Odafe is like, you know what? Just learn my name. I should have done that years ago. Anyway, Wink Martindale, coach, defensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens, has a plan in place for how they're going to use their athletic new edge rusher.
Like I said, I think he's going to be fit perfect in our system. You guys all know his speed, and we like the pressure. So with that speed and the way we pressure the quarterback, I think he's going to be very fun to watch.
He also said something that I think is incredibly important, and I think a lot of people miss the boat on Odafe Oweh, and it's the fact that he's a really good run defender. And when you have that plus his traits, that equals a first-round pick if you know how to use it. Just because you don't know how to use it doesn't mean it's not there.
His play on first and second down is so much further ahead than most guys you watch coming out of college, because you could tell that he made it a priority, that he was going to set the edge of the defense, and that's big in any defense, but especially ours, and how competitive he is.
Now, the part that I'm a little concerned about, and he did say, we're going to go slow with this, but the idea of using Oweh in a multitude of positions or in a multitude of ways. He described it a little bit, but in that defense, they do a lot of different things with their coverage and pass rush. They just don't have line up here and go, which is what Oweh came out of. I think that there's more projection here, and there's more of, we think your talent can do this, and we're going to try it out. That makes me a little more uncomfortable. It makes me think it's less of a fit, ideally, than you might have if he were just in a situation where he just goes and gets the pass rusher. This is what Martindale had to say.
This is a positionless defense. So we have guys playing all over the place. And with his athleticism that we've already talked about, he can play a bunch of different spots. We'll start the whole thing out slow and get him going, but we're going to have a lot of fun with him, not only on first and second down, but especially when we get to third down, and move him around, and we'll create our matchups from there and watch him go to work.
But in the end, what they're going to be doing is they're going to be putting Oweh in situations as a pass rusher with blitz and scheme and stunts that he gets one-on-one matchups with guys that are not his size or his athletic ability. And sometimes, and this is another underrated thing, is I think he did a great job of setting up other players on stunts where he took up 2 blockers. They're going to do those things. And the defense will benefit as a whole, because if there's one thing the Baltimore Ravens have done, from Zadarius Smith, Tyus Bowser, and along down the line, they have found how to get athletic pass rushers and make a lot out of them. And Oweh is the most talented edge rusher that they've had in that system, and he should eventually flourish.
This is Let Me Be Frank.
So now we're going to transition from guys that are going from Penn State to the next level to guys that are coming into the program, and we'll be spending the next 4 to 5 to, if there's another pandemic, 6 years at the university, or 1 if they transfer. Who knows anymore? This weekend, if you missed it, and you might have because it was Saturday of the draft, 6'8", 340-pound tackle Maleek McNeil of Connecticut committed to the Nittany Lions. He's a 3-star prospect to Rivals, and I did a player profile on him, his strengths and weaknesses, over at Blue White Illustrated, bwi.rivals.com. If you want to check out the full profile of his strengths and weaknesses, I did the whole thing about him there. Now, he's a little bit of a tough evaluation because Connecticut didn't play football in the fall because of the pandemic. So what we have is we have a unique look into what he posted online as far as practice videos and scrimmages with his own team. So you don't get to see him go up against other talented football players or even just in general diverse body types and skill sets, but you got a real look into the technique he uses, some up-close looks at what he does, and this is the one thing I want to talk about, and it comes down to knowing what you are. And Maleek McNeil is a long tackle. Long arms, long legs, high center of gravity. Now, the good news is he's aware of that, and he's trying to work on things and do things specifically to accentuate that and mitigate some of his deficiencies. And that, to me, is an indication of why they offered him. Phil Trautwein has talked about before, he wants guys that are coachable?
I'm always looking, like I said, I think that your talent only gets you so far. So I know that if a guy has good feet, right, a guy has really good strength, right, but doesn't really care, doesn't really work, then they're not going to be able to capitalize on that great feet and that great strength. So I need to work with them. I need to put them through drills and see how they learn. See if they take coaching. If I tell them a certain thing that I do they try to do it, or do they try to do their own thing? Do they get better as the camp goes on? Because if I know that, then I know they're able to adapt, and they're able to be coached, and they're coachable. Because offensive line, like I kind of relate it to a golf game. There's so many different parts of it, right? There's your putting, your short game, your drive, your long irons, are all different parts, right? Well, the same thing as an offensive lineman. There's your pass sets, your hand placement, your punch, your feet, your assignment, your alignment, your aiming points. All that takes a lot of work. And I didn't say right there that you had to run a 4.8 40 and bench 225 30 times, right? You just have to do your job and do it at a high level. And the only way to do that is by doing those little things, and to be able to take coaching, be able to want to be great, because, that's what I look for.
And the reason I can tell this guy is coachable is because of his deficiencies. So McNeil is, to me, a very stiff athlete. And this is, the longer I watch football, the longer I do this evaluations and looking at different people and their strengths and weaknesses, one of my favorite abilities in a football player is mobility. The ability to change directions quickly and efficiently. It doesn't matter if you're a center, doesn't matter if you're a safety. If you can run in every direction, because it's a three-dimensional game. It is not just east, west, north. You've got to be able to efficiently change your momentum, and that comes from hip flexibility. That comes from the ability to transition which way you're going quickly and then explode in that direction. McNeil, as a tackle, this is a huge thing. He's pretty stiff. And at 6'8", he's already losing the leverage battle, and he plays pretty high. But he does things specifically to lower his center of gravity and to, at the same time, accentuate his abilities as a blocker when it comes to his pass blocking, where he can reach farther than you, so he starts farther than you so that you have a farther way to go while he is just moving one step. My problem with this is that it is addressing the symptom and it is not addressing the problem. And if I were his coach, if I were somebody who were training him, I would encourage him to focus on flexibility and mobility, because, again, this guy is dripping with coachability. The thing that he should be doing, and I hope he does, and this is what I said, a lot of this applies to a lot of football players I've seen over the years. Working on mobility and flexibility will make you a better athlete. The only athleticism that doesn't necessarily come from that level of mobility is straight line speed. Other than that, the fountain of your potential is in your hips. Let Me Be Frank is brought to you by Packages. Whether you're Dan Quinn,
the nickel packages,
or our corporate online overlords, everyone loves Packages. From birthday presents to things that you ordered late at night online after your third glass of wine, everyone loves getting Packages. Packages, coming to your front door or post office box every other day. I tell you what, it's hot now. It's the summer. Maybe this is a good fit. I know it's weird, but it's hot in here. Like, these lights, this room, we're going to have to figure something out for the summer.